Without Indians, you'd be starving, stranded, sexless, sterile, and stupid.
I read the script and I was like, I thought Neelam Mehra was the second best role in the film after the dog.
I was booed off stage 17 weeks in a row.
I really wanted to play Pluto, but then I just wasn't good looking enough.
Well, welcome to what promises to be a really interesting conversation between two performing artists who could not have been more different from each other. Like, Veer, I can't imagine you playing Bhiku Mhatre's wife in Satya for sure.
It would be a very different kind of Satya, mostly jhoot, but yeah.
And of course, in your case, Shefali, you've been a serious, brooding star. And of course, it'd be amazing to see you as a stand-up comedian, though.
I would love that.
Have you tried it ever?
No, I haven't, but I think in real life I'm pretty funny.
Okay.
That's funny.
Right.
I mean, imagine saying it to yourself, that I'm pretty funny.
In real life, I'm not funny, and that's
No?
also what the newspapers say about me. So it's a mix of both.
Okay.
Well, at least in this particular conversation, there is no pressure for punchline. We're really getting into your lives in a way that we've known them. Of course, what's absolutely the one thing that's common between the both of you, that you're both Emmy-nominated performing artists from India. Give them a big hand, ladies and gentlemen. Veer Das, Shefali. And of course, the points that I want to refer to is your life as you've known it. And Veer, I must say, the bit about Emmy, like last year, and the first time that you were nominated, I was there in New York when you
were there that night, yeah.
Where you were there that night, and you used some of the portions from all that you went through, because that's when that whole video had come out and the two Indias, and you used some of that in your Netflix special as well. Those were crazy times, right? In the sense, the only thing I remember from that special is that you took a shower on a flight, and that's a pretty cool thing, right?
Yes.
But those were crazy times, right? And so the second one just feels like now it's kind of expected. This is a time to do a thank you speech for the Emmy nomination.
I don't think you ever expect to be nominated for an Emmy, and at that moment in time, I didn't expect to have another Netflix special or lunch, if you remember that night. So for me, it's always a surprise. I think what Mayank's referring to is the first time I went to the Emmys, I was in a little bit of the public eye and a little bit of controversy, and you learn in that moment what your art form really is, in terms of that you don't do interviews, you don't go make a hue and cry about it, you don't do any of that stuff, you use your art to talk about it. So it's an ironic full circle that I was in a little bit of trouble, and I wrote about that experience, and I made sure the first thing I wrote was a joke, not a statement, and then I went from Emmy nomination to a second Emmy nomination. It's a nice full circle, so I'm just kind of happy with that. Yeah.
Did you expect that, Shefali? The Emmy nomination, as it were.
No,
and
I didn't.
What's your thank you speech going to be for the nomination? I really hope there's a thank you speech for the win, which as you rightly pointed out, Veer, I think it's going to happen.
Oh my God, that'll be amazing.
I think ma'am is going to win. She's going to win. Do you think she's going to win? I think she's going to win.
Thank you. So I didn't expect it. I have to be honest, the first time around when Delhi Crime happened and the show was nominated, and I thought at least I'll get nominated. मतलब winning का तो सवाल ही नहीं था, just like nomination तो हो जाए. But it didn't happen, and then I assumed it's never going to happen. So that was it about it. But very recently, this friend of mine who does makeup for DC, she told me, she said, one of the days we were shooting for Delhi Crime and you were just monkeying around and saying this entire speech that you would give when you go up onto the stage. And I was like, really? I have no clue. So coming back to the speech, Mayank, I haven't yet practiced a speech because my son has told me to practice a gracious losing face. So
Was
I'm
that a bitch
working
face?
on that
Like,
one. Yeah,
what's that face going to be?
No.
So, ma'am, can I tell you about this award ceremony just in terms of, so you can prepare for the face? So what happens at the International Emmys is the thing is actually at 9 o'clock, but they make you come there for 3:30. तो फिर 2 घंटे के लिए सब फोटो लेते हैं, एक साथ सेल्फी लेते हैं, then they give you a 3-course meal. So you sit from 6:30 to whenever, and फिर सबको potty आ रहा होता है, सबको सुसु आ रहा होता है, and they make you sit there for another 3 hours. And then what I've noticed about it as a comic is by the end of the evening, only 5% of the people in the room have won. So 95% of the people in the room are pissed off by the end of the evening. because they haven't won their awards, and then everybody goes out and gets drunk. So it's a nice sort of full circle.
That would be true for every awards, right? Unless there's a popular awards in India, because they
Yeah,
know
because
who's
then they
gonna
come
win.
for 5 minutes, they know they're winning, and then they leave,
Yeah.
right? So it's like,
But
हाँ
do
sir,
we get to
आपको
drink-
best cinematic star icon by Rajnigandha of something award मिलेगा.
But do they allow you to drink before the Emmys?
Ma'am, I
before
was-
the award?
Uh, Not just because of the Emmys, but because of life in general. I was very drunk last year,
Okay,
so.
great. Okay, so I'm very happy. It's sorted.
Coming back to your lives, guys. Veer, I must let the audience know, I've actually known of you since school,
Yes.
back in Delhi. Some of us used to be very serious debaters.
Yes.
And we would prepare our points, think that we're gonna solve life's problems, solve world's problems in 7 minutes flat. And then one of these debates that we went to, and there's a gentleman who comes in, cracks a few really good jokes, and he wins that debate. And we were just wondering who this guy is, and that was Veer Das for you. That is how. From there, of course, and I'm presuming you just come to Delhi at that time, Veer, from Nigeria. I think you moved,
Yes.
and then you eventually then left the country for further studies in the US.
Yes.
Is that roughly how it went? You came to India and stayed for some time. Take
Yeah.
us through that time of your life.
I grew up in Lagos, Nigeria. So I went there when I was 1 month old, and there weren't very good English medium schools at that time, and my parents wanted me to have an Indian education. So they sent me to Lawrence School, Sana, and then I was thrown out from there. So not my fault. And
No, what was it? What happened?
I got caught delivering a senior's card to his girlfriend, and I was in the girls' dormitory. But
It is your fault, Veer. What do you
it's
mean
not
it's
my
your
fault. It's उसकी girlfriend को romance कर रहा था उसके लिए, like third degree romance. But I was there during BART time, and I didn't know it was BART time, and so they were like, he's out. And then I went to Delhi Public School, Noida, and DPS Noida.
Oh, shit,
Yes.
seriously?
Hey, damaged people. All right, and then after that, I went to the US. Some would say to study economics. My girlfriend went to the US, and I followed her to the US for love. And then she dumped me in 5 minutes. And then I came back. So that's kind of how college and all of that stuff happened.
I have to say, one of the most beautiful stories I've ever heard about a performing artist in India is actually from Shefali about her father. And it's also taught me a few things that we tend to make everyone's story because it goes with the larger thing about greatness that it's all them who made it. But sometimes the story really starts from a generation before. And that's a story that I really want the audience to hear about your father, Shefali. How he came to Bombay and raised a family here.
So he was from Mangalore, and at the age of 11 or something, he got pissed with his father because he was firing and beating the kids up. And he left from Mangalore in a train without a ticket, barefoot, no clothes, landed up in Bombay, was working in one of the Udupi restaurants where he was washing vessels and peeling potatoes. That's what he said.
He was 11 years old.
He was 11 years
Right,
old.
right.
And he started studying under the street light. I know this sounds very, very like मेरे पिताजी कहाँ से आए थे और क्या क्या किया है, but it's actually happened. And he started playing football on the streets they used to have a dalda ka can at that point of time. It was a big yellow tin dalda ka can. And Mafatlal saw him play and picked him up for the Indian team. And then he went to the RBI and he was playing for the national team. And
Football. Right.
Yeah. And then met my mom. And even after he was playing, there wasn't money involved. There wasn't security involved. Yes, he was playing for RBI, but he had started at a very lower position actually in the bank. So we didn't have a house for a very long time. And I've heard of this because I was a baby then. And even when I grew up, I realized it. So I remember he used to go to our relative's house and request them to keep me and my mom because I was a baby and mom, and he'd say I'd manage, stay with other guys in a garage, etc. And I remember at a point of time, we were, I think, 6 people in a room which was as big as these 4 speakers put together. There was nothing more. But I've never seen him or my mom negative. Never. I think they just took it in their stride and moved on. And, And he came from Mangalore, so Shetties used to be a very conservative community. But still, when I decided to start acting, I don't remember there being any kind of opposition or whatever.
Didn't your mom sort of encourage you to take acting more seriously?
Actually, no. It happened very incidentally.
Okay.
My mom used to click my pictures, and I used to take them to school, hoping that people would like me because nobody liked me in school, and I was like bullied and like very like isse kaun baat karega. But one
You're
of my
not as helpful as Veer was to his schoolmates. Clearly not.
And my teacher saw the pictures, and I was 10 years old, and asked my mom if I would do a play. Her husband was a playwright in Gujarati. And my mom was like, I don't think she can do it, but whatever. And I landed up doing the play. I thought of doing everything else in life besides being an actor. Never ever thought of it. Did a play, then there was a long gap. Then I got admission in Mithibai because I'd done this play and I had paper cuttings, etc. And then there was intercollegiate. Then there was somebody telling somebody, why don't you cast her for a play? Why don't you meet someone? It just happened. And after a really long time, I realized I do this every day and I get paid 200 rupees. So this must be my job. Until then, I was just going with the flow.
Veer, when you came to Bombay, and of course we know your journey to the point that you've finished your college
Yes.
education, been dumped by a girlfriend, now you're back in India, right? So when you actually moved to Bombay, and you are easily the most recognizable face of stand-up comedy from India, in the world by far, there was really no scene for stand-up comedy in this country. Certainly not. I mean, maybe you became a pioneer of sorts because there were like a bunch of things going here and there, but there really wasn't a scene. Did you like sort of actually try to create that scene yourself, that in a certain way?
Yeah, I don't think it was a conscious effort to create a scene. It was, I've been an outsider in most areas. You know, I've
Okay.
been the Indian in Africa, and then the African in India, and then the Indian in America, and then the America return in India. And it takes you a while to figure out that that's just who you are, and you have to own that story. So when I came down to Bombay, the reason I started a scene is because I failed at being a VJ. So I don't know if you remember what VJs were, but the Times of India was like, we will make you a VJ. And so they gave me lots of sleeveless, shirts and put spikes in my hair. And I tried it for about 5 minutes on a channel called Zoom.
Ah.
And I was sent to meet the VJs. So I was given a meeting with Nikhil Chinappa, Purab Kohli, Cyrus Saukar, Gaurav Kapoor, Salil,
Right.
all of them. And I just remember looking at these gorgeous, tall, good-looking boys and thinking, I will never, ever fit in this space. So I need to find ugly, relatable, imperfect, cracked human beings. So at that moment in time, stand-up comedy was a very South Bombay. Bharat Dabolkar and Baman might be the only two people who had done stand-up in Bombay until then. So I just
Baman, you mean Baman Irani?
Baman Irani.
Oh, really? Okay.
And so I just started finding people saying, is anybody my age and willing to talk about sex or willing to say the F word on stage or willing to do that? And we booked out Blue Frog. If you guys, I don't know if you remember, but there's a venue called Blue Frog thinking nobody would come. And 10 comedians showed up and 400 people showed up who were just our age. And those comedians became Rohan Joshi, Tanmay Bhatt, Abhishek Matthews. But it was this group of people just going, we're young, we're funny, and are there other people like us who want to hear our story? Because right now, our only choices are VJ or fifth lead in a Bollywood movie or write for people. So it's really because one failed at both of those things that one started this scene.
So was this an open mic night or? Right.
It was everybody doing 3 minutes each.
Okay.
And
And that's something you put together.
this is something we put together, and then somebody would win. I think the first open mic night, a guy called Anirban won. The second one, Rohan Joshi won. The third one, Ashish Shakya won. The fourth one, I think Varun Grover might have won. You know, so all of today's major comics kind of came or passed through that open mic night. So that's something I'm pretty proud of, is we
Right.
kind of found each other in that, you know.
And obviously you were doing some of these open mic nights when you were back in college in the US, I'm presuming?
I know that, you know, most comedians ironically begin with 5 minutes of material for about 5 or 10 people. The first time I did stand up, I did 90 minutes for 600 people. So
No way.
I had gone to drama school.
Okay.
And I was in this very method acting, Stanislavski, sit in a circle and cry all day. People say things like emote with your shoulders, those kinds of things. Drama school, and I was young and I was rebellious and I felt like I needed something organic. So I wrote a show called Brown Men Can't Hump. And I did it in front of the college. And you learn a very quick thing about stand-up comedy is that being funny for friends doesn't make you a comic. The life of the party is never a good comic. It's the loser sitting in the corner who's watching the life of the party, judging him, that guy's a good comedian. So the first time I did 5 minutes after that in a real comedy club in Chicago, I was booed off stage 17 weeks in a row. It was a black club on the south side of Chicago, so very brutal audience. And so I just kind of kept going back, and I was trying to do jokes. Hey, you know what's funny about cockroaches, etc. And the first time I was honest. I remember my first joke like it was yesterday. I went up and I said, "You Americans, you don't appreciate Indians." I was yelling. I was just like, we drive your taxis, we are your gynecologists, we sell you condoms, we sell you newspapers, we sell you food. Without Indians, you'd be starving, stranded, sexless, sterile, and stupid. And that was my first laugh. So I was like, okay, at least if you're honest with them and you yell at them, that makes comedy. So, that's...
Right. In your case, of course, there are like two Shefali Shahs, right? There's the first Shefali Shah that we saw back with Monsoon Wedding. Also saw with Satya. Also noticed in Waqt, that just 2005. And then she just completely disappears from the scene. We have no idea, almost disappears from the scene. We have no idea where she is. And then we see her all over back again with Dil Dhadakne Do, which is 2015. We see her with Delhi Crime, of course. We see her with Darlings, of course. But that's Shefali Shah 2.0, isn't it? Yeah. What happened? What's up?
What happened in between?
Yeah.
People thought I died or something. Which was pretty similar because I had kids. So you died and had kids was practically the same thing. Then I wanted to be a mom. I wanted to be at home. I wanted to change diapers. I was obviously stupid, and I chose that. And not that my children remember any of it. But after that, my career has been more about waiting than actually working. Because, I don't think anyone knew what to do with me.
Okay. Why do you say that?
I feel because I played a mother, not a mother, I played a woman much older than my age earlier, and that was kind of the end of my life.
That's Waqt you're talking about.
Waqt, and even before that, I'd done a show.
Okay.
But Waqt really kind of...
cemented it. You are Akshay Kumar's mother.
Yeah, I was
There's
Akshay
nothing
Kumar's
you can do
mother.
about it now.
There was nothing I can do about
Amitabh
it.
Bachchan's wife.
Yeah.
I mean, are you kidding me?
Akshay, who's much older than me. But, and then there was a long gap where I was frustrated, depressed, demotivated, and...
Demotivated in terms of the kind of stuff that was being offered to you after that mother
there was practically nothing being offered to me. And what was being offered was standing in a corner, being... I don't even know, just like being a part of the furniture. And I don't have a problem being a part of the furniture, but let it be relevant to the film or the show. It wasn't that. Because earlier there was a box, there was a hero, a heroine, a villain, and then a hero's mother.
Hero ka friend.
Hero ka friend, heroine ki maa. That kind of a thing. So it was just, there was nothing, really. Even when I got offered Dil Dhadakne Do, I actually wasn't sure I wanted to do it.
Really?
Yeah, because...
Weren't you happy like Zoya Akhtar offering you a movie role? I mean, she's had amazing films before that.
Amazing. And I admire Zoya so much and I want to work with her yet again.
Yeah.
But again, playing a mother to Ranveer and Priyanka, who are younger than me, but not much younger than me.
Not as young as to be your children, yes.
So, but I read the script and I was like, I thought Neelam Mehra was the second best role in the film after the dog. I wanted to play Pluto, but
Amir Khan played that, didn't he?
yeah,
Amir played
yeah.
Pluto.
I really wanted to play Pluto, but then I just wasn't good looking enough. So they said, okay, just play Neela Mehra or whatever. But I remember Javed Saab, Rima and Zoya telling me after the film got made that it was the weakest written role on paper, and I didn't see it like that. That one cake eating scene, I thought that was the strongest written role on paper, not just because of that scene. That scene I genuinely feel belongs to the director. No matter who would have done it, that scene had to work. But just she was fake. She was completely fake. She was pretentious. She was hiding something. And she did not have the guts to stand up until much later in life. And I thought that was so interesting to play somebody who's so broken. And I like to believe that I'm a very Mufat, very real person. But she was completely the opposite of me. She was just artificial. And which I thought was really I just thought it was an exciting part to play. After that, I got offered Neerja and I got offered Kapoor and Sons. But I chose not
Both
to
are
do
fantastic
it.
films.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
I loved the scripts.
And you declined both of these
I
movies.
declined both with a lot of debate. But I just said, if I do this, there's going to be no going back from here. It's
Like
going
you'll
to be
become the new Nirupa Roy of Bollywood.
Yeah. Recently, I had a very bad cough. I had become Nirupa Roy, Leela Chitnis, and a sty. So I was Lalita Pawar, all three together. And then I thought, wow, what a brilliant career I'm going to have if I'm all three of them in one. But that's why I said no. And I said, I'll wait. I didn't know what I was waiting for. And then the OTT happened, which was, wow. Then Rishi Mehta happened and Delhi Crime happened. And it was very reassuring to know that there was somebody who wanted to put me in the lead at 40, 42. And that kind of made me believe, okay, there isn't a shelf life for women. There isn't. Earlier, before that, there was. And that's where I took off
I'm
from.
going to get to the point about being at the right place at the right time, right after a question for you, Veer. I mean, you read acting, you studied acting,
Yes.
and then you came to Bombay. I'm presuming one of the things that you would have thought of doing is to join the Hindi film industry,
Yes.
because that's really where you are, right in the middle of it. And then there are these things that we've just spoken about. There is a hero ka bhai or a hero ki mother, etc., etc. Was there a wall that you came up against when you came to the city? Because you, I'm presuming, had acting on your agenda because that's what you read.
I definitely knew I wanted to be a comedian from the second I tasted stage. So even when
wow.
I came to Bombay, I was like, I will do this.
Right.
I remember going to Aram Nagar
Huh.
and looking at the audition line where everybody looked like a god, right? And I'm like, if I ever try and do this, it'll feel like a golden retriever trying to pass himself off as an Alsatian. So I have to try and be the best golden retriever in the world with what I'm given. So I kind of shortcutted my way in, and I'll tell you how, if that's okay.
Yeah,
but
of course.
I think I had 2 lakhs in my account, and producing something then cost a lot of money. I rented 5 cameras. I spent 1,80,000, and I shot a stand-up comedy show. And there's a guy called Kapil Media Pro in Lokhandwala Market. I made him make DVDs that looked like international DVDs, so that they could stand on a DVD ka shelf. And it was called Viragra, the show. So at least caught your eye. And then I went to every DVD library between Bandra and Andheri where I knew directors rented international DVDs from. And I gave them 10 free copies. And I'm like, aap rakh lo. You can make money off of this. That DVD wound up in Amir Khan Productions, got me an audition for Delhi Belly. That DVD wound up in Yash Raj Films.
That's absolutely crazy.
So it just kind of speaks to the fact that you can't do what somebody else is doing. You just kind of have to, very young, the one thing I'm glad was I found like an intention, and I'm like, I'm just sticking with this intention. I'm an underdog, I'm funny, I will be such a loser that you will feel good about who you are. And if I can stick with that, hopefully I can make people feel joy. That's my intention still. So I just kind of stuck with that,